Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. As always, a reminder that this podcast does not constitute real estate advice, legal advice, broker advice, or advice of any other nature. This is an informative podcast. And if you need advice, please reach out to the correct professional who can help you. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Launch Grow Harvest Podcast, Business Growth Coaching with Connie and Roland Kim.
Friends, thank you so much for joining us today on the Launch Grow Harvest Podcast. I'm excited to have the opportunity today to not only speak with my very favorite co-host, Roland Kim, but we have some great guests today. I want to introduce you to Shelley Zavitz, who's an award-winning realtor based out of Portland, Oregon. She's also the author of 2 books. She runs a coaching program, among a number of other businesses that she is running to high levels of success. And we also have our very own associate broker at Keller Williams Realty Van Central and successful realtor in residential real estate in Vancouver, Lynn Hart, with us in the studio today. Really excited to be talking to you both.
Great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Nice. So I think what I'd love to talk about just on the onset here, Shelley, is to talk a little bit about your first book, your first 365 days in real estate, how to build a successful real estate business starting with nothing. Friends, if you haven't picked this book up, you can find it at your favorite bookstore and on the intertubes. Shelley, tell us a little more about what prompted you to put pen to paper here, if you will.
That book was spawned from the fact that I failed at everything my first year. And I think that what I was concerned about was that other people would fail as hard as I did and then didn't realize that that is kind of the rite of passage for being a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And I had this really lofty goal, and I thought it was, I'd get my license and then I'd kill it, right? And it just didn't work out that way. So it's kind of a reach back to other real estate agents that are just getting going to say, what you're going through is normal, and hopefully you save some money so that you can get through the first year or so, because it's going to be expensive.
Yep.
And then after that, the sky's the limit. So just get past a little bit. So
yes,
it's supposed to be motivational. It's supposed to be funny, hopefully, and it's supposed to make you feel something. I mean, I go through a lot of things, a lot of problems.
Yes.
I put myself in a very unsafe situation in chapter 6. I can't even read that chapter at all. It still brings back a lot of memories about how I wasn't safe in showing properties. And if you're listening and you're a new agent, please do not go into a vacant house. Thank you. That's your PSA for today.
What I really enjoyed about reading it, Shelley, is that I loved first of all how relatable it is and was to me personally. Like yourself, I started my career in real estate in Vancouver, not really knowing anyone here. I didn't go to school here. I didn't grow up here. I didn't have a network here. And so many of the ways in which you showed up in that first year really reminded me of my own practice. I was really trying to draw on my past experience in telecom. I worked for Bell Canada for a number of years prior to getting into real estate. And that's, I'm sure similar to radio and television, right? It's a very structured corporate environment versus this entrepreneurial environment. And I know that you probably know this content like the back of your hand, but can you share the highlights? Can you give us the top 5 strategies or tips that you would say are the real salient points out of this book?
I would say that it's really important that you understand a P&L. And I don't really go into the deeps of this in this book, but understanding the type of business that you want to be and how you intend to make money is really important to kind of uncover early. because how you work your database depends on that. And I think it's chapter 2 or 3 that I talk about, your business is only as good as the new conversations, however many conversations you can have that are new that day.
Totally.
And that's what keeps everything moving forward. So I think that if you're going to be an entrepreneur of anything, all the businesses that I've ever launched, I have had to step out into a space where I was so uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't even think I can show up that way. You have to get through the mental hurdles of your own baggage before you can be the thing that you want. Every single person has to shed that. Everyone. Okay, I'm at 2. 3 is, again, you have to operate like a business.
Yep.
Folks that just come in and just are like, I'm going to sell some houses. Well, you're actually taking care of someone's largest investment, and they aren't looking at it as indifferently as you are.
Okay.
So you have to make a mental change there. And then I would also say that having a really clear understanding of why you wanted to be a real estate agent, it cannot be about money.
Yeah.
Money is the byproduct of the thing that we do. We are about service. And if you're getting into it for the wrong reasons, and the first year you don't make any money, because most people don't, you're going to quit. So having a real good understanding of what is the reason why you wanted to support somebody in buying and selling a house is fundamental.
Nice.
Did I catch it all? Okay.
I mean, those are all, that's wicked, right? And I think that, and Roland, jump in anytime. I'm a dominator here of conversation.
Yeah, maybe if you could frame a little bit what that, what the ideal mindset and habits are, perhaps for a succeeding realtor in the early stages, in the first day or in a given day or in a week. Like what do you frame?
Well, what happened for me, right? I was an executive I was successful in another life, and I started my business, and I was like, I'm going to be amazing. But unfortunately, I had to get through all this other garbage that required me to understand that I'm going to get a lot of no's. I'm going to see more rejection than I know what to do with, and I am not my job. And it's really important that you start setting up very healthy habits really early in your career. Even if you're not selling anything, it's really important, because if you're not healthy, you cannot serve. So an example of that would be, especially in the beginning, I was getting no's everywhere I looked, and I was like, oh, I can't do this job. This is about me. And I had to get to the point where it's not no, it's not yet. I haven't proven myself yet, right? And I had to get through all of the learning and the education involved in that. And I think that folks that get, we pass the exam and they're like, okay, we're ready to go. You haven't even touch a little bit of what we need to know as a real estate agent. So of course folks don't trust you right away. You have to earn it.
Oh, I love the story in the book about talking about that first deal and literally not knowing how to draft a contract, right? Like there are so
gold
many
coins.
It's so relatable. And frankly, as brokerage owners, Roland and I, we encounter these folks all the time. And one of the things that I am saying from a broker perspective, and Lynn and I, really do try to drill this into people at every opportunity. It's like winners are practicing their batting swing at the game, right? That's not when we're practicing how to swing the bat. We're practicing before the game, after the game, in between the innings. Like, get out and write contracts like it's your job.
Yep. Do CMAs, practice valuations.
Yeah. And
there's no reason, if you're just sitting there, you have lots of time to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of the other things that really resonated with me in that book that I totally related to is just the idea of like, I'll be there. I'm great. It's an opportunity. I'll be there. I'm in. Like, just the mindset that when you're starting your career, you need to say yes. And you're saying yes before you've even really figured out what you're saying yes to. Because you're like, okay, yes. I'm going to show up and I'm going to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And, I'd love to hear from you on what you're observing. I don't know if there's a demographic difference. When did you start your real estate career, Shelley?
2015.
2015. So, you know, I don't know if there's a demographic difference with folks who are starting earlier now today versus those of us that started in years past. But I know that for myself, when I started, and Roland and I talk about this regularly, like if there was an opportunity in a region that was like an hour and a half away from my home to support a buyer that was going to be buying at $150,000, like I was in the car. I'm out there driving out to Chilliwack.
Yep.
Right? Like for real. Because I had no business and I wanted to do something. Are you noticing, like, what do you notice when you're interacting? I know you run a coaching program for folks who are launching businesses. So what do you notice about people today in the start of their career?
In the way of what they're encountering, what they're doing, or...
Yeah, like, first of all, do you find that they're sharing with you that those opportunities are presented to them? How do they, you know, one of the things that I hear from new agents in my brokerage is like, can't wait to get into this business. I only want to work with $1 million plus, and I only want to deal with listings.
Listen, me too. Okay?
Me too.
Get in line.
Yeah.
Okay, I was first.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking about in the way that they are viewing the business prior to entry, I have a lot of opinions about this.
Please.
And hopefully I'm free. So I think that there's a lot of vulture behavior out there in the way of coaching, recruiting, and things like that, where people are not being totally honest with new agents what this actually is.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is this, and they come to me on Instagram and they say, hey, I read your book. This is what's happening. This is exactly what's happening. And I have made this very poor decision to do X with so-and-so who promised me X. And what has happened is my family is so far in debt at this point that I can't afford to stay here. And it's just constant. And one of the reasons why I started New Agent 365 and we offer it for $179, it's like the cheapest thing I could come up with, is because I want them to know this isn't easy. That's normal. You should have funding to launch a business. Everyone does. So if you don't have it, stay at your job, save your money, then launch your business. And I try to be really, really honest about the way that this industry is set up. And it's not to help a new agent. Unfortunately, it's kind of a sink or swim situation. And I don't want it to be like that.
Yeah.
You know? Our legacy could be something fantastic. And we never talk about this. The other legacy is if we don't help entry-level agents, that their legacy and their family is incredible amount of debt.
You think what's changed over the years, partner, since like you and I have been this is coming on to our 15th year. And when we started, do you think there was more people entering the market with less monetary outcome expectations than now?
Well, I think it's undoubtable that the cost of simply existing is more expensive now. You know, my own personal experience, partner, I don't remember what you shared as your launch process, but like I had the golden handcuffs opportunity of a lifetime with my previous employer. I was young and I was single. I had no children. I had like total flexibility. So I, you know, took a year off and did the real estate course and then moved back to Vancouver because that's where I wanted to live. And then gave myself I had purchased real estate in the past. I had a couple of transactions. So I had like a $25,000 nest egg that I started my business with in 2008. 2008. And
good year to
that
get started.
Good year to get started. Yeah.
Good year to get started. Yeah.
2009.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I had no, like when you talk about first year of knowing a P&L, which is a profit and loss statement, like I'm year 15, I'm just getting my hands around it, right? Like I did not have a clue. I literally was just like, if I can do a deal a month, I can live. That's how I started my business. So I think, Shelley, like you, like I made tons of mistakes that, you know, it would be great if people didn't replicate, but I've not caught the motivation to write a book about it.
Well,
There's opportunity, isn't it? What about yourself, Roland? Like, did you start with intentionality? Did you have a budget? Did you start with a nest egg?
Not with intentionality. I kind of fell into it, but I do think that like the old adages and the old qualities that stand the test of time, we both had, right? Like we were humble, hardworking, open, like you said, to opportunities. So, a good example perhaps between what we did well, where I feel like we took an opportunity and drove an hour and a half every day to show a house in Squamish. We also learned the Squamish market, where I feel a lot of people today are like, they'll only do that if the numbers make sense right from the beginning. And so they're not perhaps willing to invest time and knowledge into building their business. I do think, like we fell into it without a plan, but we didn't have a lot of cost or expectations. And so we're able to fail forward and upwards. It is one of those things I do find sometimes alarming when I meet professional people that are making six figures and they dream about real estate, and they've made a quick decision to get licensed without a plan and no calculations on what kind of results do I need to see in order to call it successful. And it's interesting how that continues forward year after year. We've never been able to address that as an industry.
I think we could. I think it lives in recruiting. I think it lives in disclosures that we aren't disclosing right now, because a lot of us, we want to add to our businesses and the fee structures that are around that. Yeah. And it's been a detriment a little bit.
I totally agree. Yeah, we've talked many times about the fact that the business on a whole is predicated on volume, right? The real estate boards, the real estate associations, the vast majority of real estate brokerage models, very much unlike our model, is predicated on simply volume and a high desk fee, and they don't really care if you do business or you don't. Which I will note is the opposite of our business model at Van Central. Keller Williams is a split house with a low monthly. And I mean, to a certain degree, it did resonate with our core values. Like that's one of the reasons we chose this brokerage and this model, because we felt like the whole point is, if we can help you run a successful business and you can transact and you're successful, that will make our office and our brokerage successful. But I do agree with you that
can I make you the president of all real estate?
I vote Lynn
now.
Yeah.
Okay, done. Lynn, you're up.
I mean, I've always said the biggest challenge in that is by the time someone reaches us, they've already applied and done the course, right? There almost needs to be the good, the bad, and the indifferent class that you need to attend before they accept your money for the enrollment course. Because I don't know how many times, partner, we've spoken about meeting with someone in the office and they've just gotten licensed. They probably self-realized that this industry is entirely different than what they were expecting. And now they're at a crossroad of like, hey, am I very forward thinking and honest with myself to literally stop before I've even started because this isn't the right path? Or do I just give it a try and maybe it gets better? And so many people, I feel, fail on the try once they're licensed, because no one, like, you can sign up tomorrow to get your course started and study, and no one will ever have told you the good, the bad, and the indifferent on the industry until you're out there looking for a brokerage.
So I will say, not to shamelessly plug here, but New Agent 365 built a pre-license workbook. It's 7 levels. It takes you through what to talk to your spouse about. How much money do you need to have in the bank? Yeah. What are the different types of departments do you need to know about to launch a real estate business? And it also gives you like a quiz on identifying if your sphere is ready to support your life. And if it's not, you got to figure that out. And we put that together, but it's really hard to get it into their hands because, I mean, I'm not a brokerage. I never want to be one. And it's really hard to get it to a pre-licensed person because it's hard to know where they are.
Shelley, is your program I was just going to ask the question if Shelley's program is it relevant for Canadian agents or folks who are considering within the Canadian context, do you think?
It's an interesting question, Lynn. Would you like to answer that?
Yes, I believe it will be for sure. I think it's there's no brokerage affiliation to this course, and so it appeals to everybody across the board. And I think there will be a market. I don't think, from what I'm hearing from Shelley, it will take a whole lot to bring out a Canadian version, because we're working with the same balls in the air.
Very neat. Where can people find more information on that program?
New Agent right now, the United States version is at newagent365.com. We have both the 12-week program that has on-demand videos and live. It's NA 365 Live, which is kind of like a show that I do. And then we also have the pre-licensed workbook that they can get separately. So if someone says to you, do you think I should get my license? They really should think about these 7 things first.
Okay.
Please, I'm begging you. I'd give it for free if I could afford it.
Nice.
Yeah. It's $29.95. Just kidding. I don't know it.
Very cool.
And then it's all hosted on ontrackagent.com.
Nice.
Well, Shelley, we really appreciate you sharing these nuggets with us. We'll put into the notes of the show, again, a link to where folks can find that great information. I think you brought up a really, really good point that, not enough attention at all is going into that pre-evaluation of what it's like to be a realtor and who do you need to be and where you need to be. And that would definitely help everyone on the path, if they wanted to become a realtor, to make it more successful and hopefully avoid some of the mistakes I think we've all made over the years.
Right.
So really appreciate you writing that book and sharing it with our office and being here today.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for
I
having
appreciate
me.
it. Thank you, Lynn.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.